35 to 40 times each night, removing toxins, balancing electrolytes, regulating blood pressure, and maintaining the precise chemical equilibrium that keeps every cell in the body functioning. But for 37 million Americans, this nightly cleaning operation is failing, and most of them have absolutely no idea. Dr. Liana Wen has stood in dialysis centers at dawn, watching rows of patients connected to machines performing the work their kidneys can no longer do, knowing that for many of these individuals, the progression from healthy kidneys to complete failure happened silently over years, even decades, without symptoms until the damage was irreversible. The tragedy is not that kidney disease is untreatable. The tragedy is that in the vast majority of cases, it is entirely preventable and, in early stages, completely reversible with interventions so simple that they seem almost too obvious to be powerful. Among these interventions, one stands out for its remarkable combination of accessibility, palatability, and scientific validation. A single fruit, consumed at a specific time of day, has been demonstrated in multiple peer-reviewed studies to protect kidney function, reduce markers of kidney damage, lower the risk of kidney stones, decrease inflammation that accelerates kidney disease, and support the circadian repair processes that restore kidney tissue while the body sleeps. This fruit is not exotic, it is not expensive, it is not difficult to find, and the protocol for using it requires nothing more than a few minutes before bed and a basic understanding of how kidney health actually works. But before revealing what this fruit is and exactly how to use it, it is essential to understand why kidney health has become a crisis in modern medicine, why conventional approaches focus on managing decline rather than supporting regeneration, and why the timing of this intervention, specifically before bed, transforms it from merely beneficial to genuinely protective. Because the kidneys do not operate on a simple on-off mechanism. They function according to circadian rhythms, with filtration, repair, and regeneration processes that peak during specific hours of the night, and providing the right nutritional support at precisely the moment when kidneys shift from daytime filtration mode to nighttime repair mode can mean the difference between gradual deterioration and sustained healthy function. The question is not whether someone watching needs this information. Given that kidney disease is now the 9th leading cause of death in the United States, and that 90% of people with early kidney disease are completely unaware they have it, the odds that this applies to someone watching, or someone they love, are statistically overwhelming. The question is whether they will understand the mechanisms deeply enough to implement the protocol consistently, and whether they will act before symptoms appear. Because by the time kidney disease announces itself with obvious signs, the damage is often already catastrophic. Problem amplification, 18-22%. To understand why a simple fruit consumed before bed can profoundly impact kidney health, it is necessary to understand what kidneys actually do and how modern life systematically undermines their function. The kidneys are not simple filters, though filtration is certainly one of their primary jobs. They are endocrine organs that produce hormones regulating blood pressure, red blood cell production, and bone health. They are metabolic regulators that maintain acid-base balance, electrolyte concentrations, and fluid volume. They are detoxification centers that eliminate waste products from protein metabolism, medications, and environmental toxins. Each kidney contains approximately 1 million nephrons, microscopic filtering units composed of a glomerulus, a tiny ball of blood vessels, and a tubule, a long winding tube that processes the filtered fluid. Blood enters the glomerulus under pressure, and that pressure forces water, electrolytes, glucose, amino acids, and waste products through a filtration membrane into the tubule. As this filtrate moves through the tubule, the kidney reclaims what the body needs: water, glucose, essential minerals, and concentrates what needs elimination into urine. This process happens continuously, but it intensifies and shifts focus during nighttime hours. Research into chronobiology has revealed that kidney function follows distinct circadian patterns. During waking hours, kidneys prioritize filtration and immediate waste removal, responding to dietary intake, physical activity, and metabolic demands. During sleep, kidney activity shifts toward repair, regeneration of damaged cells, and deep cleaning of accumulated toxins that require more intensive processing. When kidney function becomes impaired, this elegant system begins to fail in stages. The medical community defines chronic kidney disease in 5 stages based on glomerular filtration rate, or GFR, a measure of how much blood the kidneys filter per minute. Stage 1 involves kidney damage with normal or elevated GFR. Stage 2 shows mildly reduced GFR. Stage 3 indicates moderate reduction. Stage 4 represents severe reduction. And Stage 5 is kidney failure requiring dialysis or transplantation. The insidious nature of kidney disease is that stages 1 through 3 typically produce no symptoms. The kidneys have such remarkable reserve capacity that they can lose 50 to 60% of their function before a person feels anything wrong. By the time symptoms like fatigue, nausea, swelling, confusion, or changes in urination appear, the disease has usually progressed to stage 4 or 5, points at which reversal is nearly impossible, and the trajectory is toward complete failure. Dr. Liana has reviewed thousands of cases of kidney disease, and the pattern is remarkably consistent. The progression almost always involves multiple hits to kidney function over extended periods. The first hit often comes from blood pressure dysregulation. High blood pressure damages the delicate blood vessels in the glomeruli, causing scarring and reducing filtration capacity. The second hit frequently involves blood sugar problems. Diabetes is the leading cause of kidney failure in the United States, responsible for nearly half of all cases. Elevated blood glucose damages both the blood vessels and the tubules, creating progressive dysfunction. The third hit comes from inflammation. Chronic systemic inflammation, the kind produced by poor diet, obesity, stress, inadequate sleep, and environmental toxins, directly damages kidney tissue. Inflammatory molecules circulating in the bloodstream activate immune responses within the kidney that, over time, destroy healthy nephrons and replace them with scar tissue. The fourth hit involves oxidative stress. Free radicals, unstable molecules generated during normal metabolism, and dramatically increased by modern dietary patterns, damage cellular structures throughout the kidney, accelerating aging and functional decline. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University conducted a prospective cohort study examining kidney function decline in 15,300 adults over a 12-year period using serial measurements of estimated glomerular filtration rate and comprehensive metabolic panels, and their findings demonstrated that participants with biomarkers of chronic inflammation in the highest quartile experienced a 58% faster rate of kidney function decline compared to those in the lowest quartile, establishing a direct dose-response relationship between inflammatory burden and kidney deterioration. The fifth hit is often uric acid accumulation. Uric acid is a breakdown product of purines, compounds found in high concentrations in red meat, organ meats, certain seafoods, and produced endogenously during cell turnover. When uric acid levels rise, crystals can form in the kidneys and urinary tract, causing kidney stones that damage tissue and obstruct urine flow. Even without stone formation, elevated uric acid has direct toxic effects on kidney cells and contributes to high blood pressure, creating a vicious cycle where kidney damage causes uric acid retention, which causes more kidney damage. Dr. Liana recalls a 47-year-old software engineer who presented to the emergency department with severe back pain radiating to his groin. Imaging revealed a kidney stone lodged in his ureter and, more concerning, evidence of chronic kidney disease with a GFR indicating stage 3 dysfunction. He had no idea his kidneys were compromised. He felt fine most of the time, but his diet told the story. High in red meat and processed foods, low in fruits and vegetables, accompanied by multiple energy drinks daily for caffeine, minimal water intake, and eating patterns that continued until late at night before bed, giving his kidneys no opportunity for unstressed repair time. This pattern of eating late, particularly consuming foods high in purines, salt, or processed ingredients right before sleep, creates a specific problem for kidney health. When the body is trying to shift into nighttime repair mode, but instead must divert resources to processing a recent meal, especially a problematic one, the kidneys never get the recovery window they need. It would be like asking a maintenance crew to repair a highway while traffic continues at full volume. The work cannot be done effectively. Additionally, nighttime is when the body should be slightly dehydrated relative to daytime, with urine becoming more concentrated as kidneys conserve water during hours without fluid intake. This is normal and healthy, provided the person is well hydrated during the day. But when someone eats salty, processed foods before bed, the kidneys must work harder during the night to eliminate excess sodium and metabolic waste products from that meal, disrupting the natural circadian rhythm and creating strain on systems that should be resting and repairing. The cumulative effect of these patterns, hypertension, blood sugar dysregulation, chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, uric acid accumulation, and disrupted circadian kidney function, is progressive nephron death. Unlike liver cells, which can regenerate, kidney nephrons have extremely limited regenerative capacity. Once a nephron is destroyed, it is gone permanently. The remaining nephrons must work harder to compensate, which accelerates their decline, creating a progressive downward spiral. Studies examining populations with high rates of kidney disease consistently point to dietary factors as primary drivers. The standard American diet, high in processed foods, added sugars, refined grains, and animal proteins, low in fruits, vegetables, and fiber, creates a perfect storm for kidney damage. Salt intake in the United States averages more than double the recommended maximum, driving blood pressure elevation and forcing kidneys to work overtime, eliminating excess sodium. Sugar consumption creates insulin resistance and diabetes. Lack of antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables leaves the body defenseless against oxidative stress. And here is where the bedtime fruit protocol becomes revolutionary. Because while kidneys are under assault during the day from dietary stressors, nighttime represents an opportunity to flood the system with compounds that actively counteract every major pathway of kidney damage. Compounds that reduce inflammation, neutralize oxidative stress, lower uric acid, support healthy blood pressure, improve blood sugar regulation, and signal to kidney cells that repair and regeneration should proceed. But not just any fruit provides this comprehensive protection. And not just any timing maximizes the benefit. Solution Introduction 12-16. The fruit that Dr. Liana identifies as the single best option for kidney health when consumed before bed is tart cherry, specifically Montmorency tart cherries. Either fresh, frozen, or as pure tart cherry juice without added sugars. This is not the sweet cherry variety found in most grocery stores during summer months. This is the sour, tart variety primarily grown in Michigan and used for baking and juice production. And the difference between tart cherries and sweet cherries, in terms of kidney protective compounds, is dramatic. Tart cherries contain one of the highest concentrations of anthocyanins of any commonly available fruit. Anthocyanins are pigment compounds that give tart cherries their deep red color, but their function extends far beyond aesthetics. These molecules are among the most potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant compounds found in nature. They cross into tissues throughout the body, including kidney tissue, where they directly neutralize free radicals, reduce inflammatory signaling, protect cellular membranes, and support mitochondrial function. Additionally, tart cherries are one of the few dietary sources of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep-wake cycles but also plays critical roles in cellular repair and antioxidant defense. The melatonin content in tart cherries is significant enough to measurably increase blood melatonin levels when consumed, which is precisely why consuming them before bed creates a synergistic effect. The melatonin supports sleep quality while simultaneously enhancing the kidney's nighttime repair processes. Tart cherries also contain compounds that inhibit xanthine oxidase, the enzyme responsible for converting purines into uric acid. This is the same mechanism by which the medication allopurinol, commonly prescribed for gout and kidney stones, works. But tart cherries provide this effect naturally, without the side effects associated with pharmaceutical xanthine oxidase inhibitors. By reducing uric acid production overnight, tart cherries prevent crystal formation, reduce inflammatory burden on kidneys, and support healthier blood pressure regulation. The timing of consumption, specifically before bed, leverages circadian biology. When tart cherry compounds enter the bloodstream during the hours when kidneys shift into repair mode, they provide the raw materials for antioxidant enzyme production, membrane repair, and anti-inflammatory signaling, precisely when kidney cells are most receptive to these inputs. It is the difference between delivering building materials to a construction site during business hours when workers are present versus dropping them off on a weekend when no one is there. The timing determines whether the materials can be used effectively. Clinical research supports this approach. Scientists at Northumbria University in the United Kingdom conducted a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial involving 20 participants consuming either tart cherry juice or placebo beverage for 7 days, with blood and urine samples collected to measure markers of oxidative stress and inflammation. And results showed that tart cherry consumption significantly reduced biomarkers of oxidative stress and inflammatory cytokines, with effects persisting throughout the night when consumption occurred in the evening hours. But tart cherries are not the only fruit with kidney protective properties worth consuming before bed. Cranberries, particularly unsweetened cranberry juice or whole cranberries, provide complementary benefits. Cranberries are famous for preventing urinary tract infections by preventing bacterial adhesion to the bladder and urinary tract walls, but they also contain proanthocyanidins that reduce kidney stone formation, particularly calcium oxalate stones, the most common type. Dr. Liana emphasizes that, while both tart cherries and cranberries are beneficial, Tart cherries represent the optimal choice for comprehensive kidney protection due to their superior anthocyanin content, melatonin presence, and uric acid lowering effects. However, for individuals with a history of kidney stones, especially calcium oxalate stones, alternating between tart cherry and cranberry consumption can provide broader protection. The protocol is not complicated. 1 cup of fresh or frozen tart cherries or 8 ounces of pure tart cherry juice, consumed 30 to 60 minutes before bed, consistently every night. That is the foundation. But understanding exactly why this simple intervention is so powerful requires diving into the mechanisms, the precise molecular pathways through which tart cherry compounds interact with kidney cells to prevent damage and promote repair. Mechanistic deep dive. 38-42%. The first and most critical mechanism by which tart cherries protect kidney function is through potent anti-inflammatory action mediated by anthocyanins. Inflammation is not just redness and swelling at an injury site. At the cellular level, inflammation involves a cascade of chemical messengers called cytokines that activate immune responses, alter gene expression, and, when chronically elevated, cause tissue damage. In the kidneys, inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-6 tumor necrosis factor alpha and C-reactive protein directly damage the glomerular filtration membrane, the delicate barrier that separates blood from the filtrate entering the tubules. When this membrane becomes inflamed, it develops gaps that allow proteins, particularly albumin, to leak from the bloodstream into the urine. This condition, called proteinuria, is one of the earliest detectable signs of kidney damage and a predictor of progressive kidney disease. It creates a vicious cycle because the proteins that leak into the tubules are toxic to the tubular cells, causing further damage and inflammation downstream. Anthocyanins interrupt this cycle by inhibiting nuclear factor kappa B, or NFKB, a master regulator of inflammatory gene expression. When NFKB is activated, it travels to the cell nucleus and turns on genes that produce inflammatory cytokines. Anthocyanins prevent this activation, essentially turning down the inflammatory volume throughout the entire kidney. Research teams at Michigan State University analyzed kidney tissue from animal models of chronic kidney disease, some receiving anthocyanin supplementation equivalent to human consumption of tart cherries, and others receiving standard diet. And histological analysis revealed that anthocyanin supplemented subjects showed 63% less glomerular scarring and 47% less tubular damage compared to controls, with inflammatory markers in kidney tissue reduced to near normal levels. The second mechanism involves direct antioxidant activity. The kidneys, due to their high metabolic rate and constant exposure to toxins being filtered from the blood, generate enormous quantities of reactive oxygen species, or free radicals. These unstable molecules damage proteins, lipids, and DNA through a process called oxidative stress. The kidneys have endogenous antioxidant systems, primarily the enzymes superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase, which neutralize free radicals. But when oxidative stress overwhelms these defenses, damage accumulates. Anthocyanins function as direct free radical scavengers, donating electrons to stabilize reactive oxygen species before they can damage cellular structures. Additionally, they upregulate the expression of antioxidant enzymes through activation of a transcription factor called NRF2O. When NRF2O is activated, it increases production of the body's own antioxidant defenses, creating a lasting protective effect that extends beyond the immediate antioxidant activity of the anthocyanins themselves. This dual action, direct scavenging plus increased endogenous antioxidant production, creates comprehensive protection against oxidative damage. Dr. Liana compares it to both putting out fires currently burning and installing better fire suppression systems to prevent future fires. Both are necessary for complete protection. The third mechanism centers on uric acid reduction. As mentioned earlier, tart cherries inhibit xanthine oxidase, the enzyme that catalyzes the final steps in purine metabolism that produce uric acid. Clinical trials have demonstrated this effect in humans. Investigators at the Boston University Medical Center conducted a case crossover study involving 633 participants with gout, tracking dietary intake and gout attacks over a 1-year period, using detailed food diaries and medical record confirmation, and statistical analysis revealed that cherry consumption, particularly tart cherries, was associated with a 35% lower risk of recurrent gout attacks, with the effect strongest when cherries were consumed in the evening hours, suggesting that nighttime reduction in uric acid production provides protective benefits that extend through the following day. But the benefits of uric acid reduction extend beyond gout prevention. Elevated uric acid, even below the threshold that causes gout, damages kidney cells directly. Uric acid crystals can form inside kidney tubules, causing obstruction and inflammation. Additionally, uric acid stimulates the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, a hormonal cascade that raises blood pressure, which further damages kidneys. By lowering uric acid production overnight, tart cherries interrupt multiple pathways of kidney damage simultaneously. The fourth mechanism involves blood pressure regulation. Hypertension is both a cause and consequence of kidney disease. Damaged kidneys struggle to regulate blood pressure, and elevated blood pressure accelerates kidney damage. Anthocyanins improve endothelial function, the health of cells lining blood vessels, by increasing nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule that causes blood vessels to relax and dilate, reducing blood pressure and improving blood flow to tissues including the kidneys. Research conducted at King's College London examined the effects of anthocyanin-rich foods on blood pressure in a meta-analysis incorporating data from 19 randomized controlled trials, including 1,462 total participants, and pooled analysis demonstrated that anthocyanin supplementation reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 3.1 millimeters of mercury and diastolic blood pressure by 1.4 millimeters of mercury. Effects that may seem modest but are associated with significant reductions in cardiovascular events and kidney disease progression when sustained over months and years. The fifth mechanism is unique to bedtime consumption and involves melatonin. Most people know melatonin as a sleep hormone, but its roles extend far beyond sleep regulation. Melatonin is a potent antioxidant, in some assays more effective than vitamin C or vitamin E at neutralizing free radicals. Unlike other antioxidants that work primarily in water-soluble or fat-soluble compartments of cells, melatonin works in both and can cross cellular membranes easily, providing protection throughout the entire cell, including inside mitochondria, the energy-producing structures that generate most cellular free radicals. In kidney cells, melatonin receptors are abundant, and when melatonin binds to these receptors, it triggers protective genetic programs that increase antioxidant defenses, reduce inflammation, and support cellular repair. During nighttime hours, when endogenous melatonin production is highest, kidney cells are primed to respond to melatonin signals by initiating repair processes. Consuming tart cherries before bed amplifies this natural signal, providing both exogenous melatonin and the supporting anthocyanin compounds that enhance melatonin's protective effects. A research group at the University of Texas Health Science Center investigated melatonin's protective effects in kidney ischemia reperfusion injury, a model of acute kidney damage, using animal subjects receiving either melatonin supplementation or placebo prior to induced injury, and biochemical analysis of kidney function markers showed that melatonin-supplemented subjects had 54% less kidney damage as measured by serum creatinine and blood urea nitrogen, with tissue analysis revealing significantly reduced cell death and inflammation in the melatonin group, demonstrating melatonin's capacity to protect kidneys even under severe stress. The sixth mechanism involves improvement in blood sugar regulation. While tart cherries contain natural sugars, their anthocyanin content actually improves insulin sensitivity and reduces blood sugar spikes when consumed as whole fruit or unsweetened juice. Anthocyanins slow the digestion and absorption of carbohydrates by inhibiting enzymes like alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase, resulting in more gradual, controlled rises in blood glucose rather than sharp spikes. Additionally, anthocyanins improve insulin signaling in cells throughout the body, making them more responsive to insulin and better able to take up glucose from the bloodstream. This is critical for kidney health because chronically elevated blood glucose directly damages kidney structures through a process called glycation, where glucose molecules attach to proteins and alter their function. Glycated proteins in the kidneys contribute to scarring and progressive loss of filtration capacity. Consuming tart cherries before bed, especially after dinner, can blunt the blood sugar impact of the evening meal and reduce overnight glucose levels. Since overnight fasting blood sugar is a key predictor of diabetes risk and kidney damage, this effect provides meaningful protection. The seventh mechanism relates to hydration and urinary dilution. Tart cherry juice, when consumed as 8 ounces before bed, provides hydration that dilutes urine overnight, reducing the concentration of minerals and waste products that can crystallize to form kidney stones. This dilution also reduces the concentration of toxins in contact with tubular cells, decreasing cellular stress and damage. The fluid from tart cherry juice differs from plain water in an important way. It contains potassium and other electrolytes that help the kidneys maintain proper electrolyte balance. Adequate potassium intake is associated with lower blood pressure and reduced kidney stone risk, and most Americans consume far less potassium than recommended. Tart cherries provide potassium in a readily absorbable form alongside the protective phytochemicals. Dr. Liana emphasizes that these mechanisms are not theoretical. They have been demonstrated in controlled laboratory studies, animal models, and human clinical trials. The evidence base for tart cherries' kidney protective effects is substantial and continues to grow as more researchers investigate the connection between anthocyanin-rich foods and kidney health. What makes the bedtime timing so powerful is that it synchronizes nutrient delivery with the kidney's natural repair cycle. During sleep, especially during deep sleep stages, cellular repair processes accelerate throughout the body. Growth hormone is released, stimulating tissue regeneration. Autophagy, the cellular housekeeping process that removes damaged proteins and organelles, increases. Inflammatory signaling decreases while anti-inflammatory pathways activate. When tart cherry compounds are present in the bloodstream during these hours, they enhance and support all these natural repair mechanisms. The anthocyanins provide raw materials for antioxidant enzyme production. The melatonin signals that it is time for deep cellular maintenance. The anti-inflammatory effects allow tissue to repair without interference from ongoing inflammatory damage. And the uric acid reduction prevents new crystal formation during the overnight hours when urine is most concentrated. It is a comprehensive, multi-system intervention delivered through a single, simple, delicious food consumed at the optimal time for maximum benefit. Practical protocol delivery. 18-22%. Understanding the mechanisms is essential, but implementation is what transforms knowledge into results. The practical protocol for using tart cherries to protect kidney health is straightforward, but benefits from specific details about quantity, timing, preparation, and complementary strategies. The foundation of the protocol is consistent nightly consumption of tart cherries 30 to 60 minutes before bed. The specific amount depends on the form being consumed. For fresh or frozen tart cherries, 1 cup, approximately 20 to 25 cherries, provides therapeutic levels of anthocyanins and melatonin. For pure tart cherry juice, 8 ounces, 1 cup, is the target dose. For tart cherry concentrate, which is available in some health food stores, follow the manufacturer's dilution instructions, typically 1 to 2 tablespoons of concentrate mixed with water to make 8 ounces of juice. The critical qualifier is that the juice must be pure tart cherry juice, without added sugars. Many commercial cherry juice products are actually cherry-flavored sugar water with minimal actual cherry content. Read labels carefully. The ingredients should list only tart cherries or tart cherry juice. If sugar, cane juice, corn syrup, or any other sweetener appears on the label, it is not the right product.
Someone in the United States dies from complications that began with something most people never discuss at dinner parties.
Calories.
Something doctors whisper about in emergency rooms. Something that literally everyone does, but almost no one understands, is slowly becoming one of the most dangerous hidden health crises of modern life. The condition starts silently. It progresses invisibly. And by the time most people realize something is catastrophically wrong, the damage has already moved from uncomfortable to potentially fatal.
They can be frozen
Dr.
at
Liana
home for
Wen
year-round
has stood in
use.
emergency departments
Tart
at 3 in the
cherry
morning,
juice is
watching
increasingly
the color
available
drain
in
from a
grocery
patient's
stores,
face as
typically in the
monitors
natural
begin
food
alarming,
section or
blood
juice
pressure
aisle.
dropping,
Brands
heart rate
like
spiking,
Lakewood Organic,
knowing that what
Dynamic
brought
Health,
this person
and
to the
Brownwood
edge of
Acres
death
produce pure
started
tart
days
cherry
earlier with a
juice
simple
without
decision about what
additives.
to eat for
It is more
lunch.
expensive
The
than
medical
buying
term
frozen
is fecal
cherries,
impaction.
but some people
The
prefer
common
the
description
convenience
is
of juice.
constipation.
A
But
cost-saving
neither
approach
phrase
is to
captures the
purchase
genuine
frozen
medical
cherries
emergency
and
that
make homemade
unfolds when
juice
hardened
by
stool
blending
becomes
1 cup of
lodged in the
frozen
rectum,
cherries with 8
creating a
ounces of water,
cascade of
then
complications that
straining
can
if
rupture
desired.
intestinal
Though
walls,
consuming the whole
trigger
blended
systemic
fruit
infections,
provides the added
cause heart
benefit of
attacks,
fiber.
and
The
yes,
timing
kill
is specific,
otherwise healthy people.
30 to 60
Right
minutes
now, as
before
these
planned
words are being
sleep time.
spoken,
This allows
approximately
the
38
anthocyanins
million
and
Americans are
melatonin to be
dealing with chronic
absorbed and begin
constipation.
circulating
Among them,
before
nearly
sleep
2
onset,
million have progressed to
maximizing their
impaction
availability
without realizing
during the
it.
deep repair
Their
phases
digestive
of sleep
systems are
that
backing
typically
up
occur
like
in the
plumbing in
first
an old
half of the
building.
night.
Pressure
Consuming
building,
tart cherries
toxins
immediately
accumulating,
before lying
and the
down
7
can
specific
cause
foods that
discomfort from
Dr.
the fluid
Liana will
volume,
reveal in the
and
next
consuming
30
them too
minutes
early,
are the
more than
primary
90 minutes
culprits
before
making
bed,
everything worse.
means the peak
These
blood
are not
levels occur before
obscure
the optimal
ingredients.
repair
These
window.
are items
For
sitting in
people who wait
pantries and
during the night to
refrigerators right now,
urinate, which is
foods that
common
advertising has
especially as
convinced
people age,
millions are
consuming
healthy,
8
normal,
ounces
even
of
beneficial,
liquid before
while they
bed may
systematically
increase nighttime
transform the
awakenings.
digestive tract
In these
into a ticking
cases,
time
reducing
bomb.
the
The
amount to
question is
4 to
not whether
6
this
ounces of
information
tart
applies
cherry
to someone
juice or
watching.
consuming whole
Statistics
cherries
make
instead
that
of
certain.
juice can
The
provide the
question is
benefits
whether they
while
will
minimizing
recognize the
fluid
warning
load.
signs
The
in
whole
time,
cherries still
and which of
contain
the 7
significant
foods they
water
are
content
consuming right
but
now,
release it
today,
more gradually
this
during
very
digestion.
week,
The
that
protocol
are
becomes
silently
more
contributing to a
when
condition
combined
that
with
sends
complementary dietary strategies
425,000
throughout the day.
Americans to
During
emergency
daytime
departments
hours,
every
focus on
single
hydration
year.
with plain water,
Problem
targeting
amplification.
approximately half of body weight
18
in
to
ounces as a daily
22%.
minimum. Someone weighing
Understanding
160
why stool
pounds
stuck
should
in the
aim for
rectum can
80
kill
ounces of
requires
water daily,
understanding
with
what happens
adjustments
in the
upward
body
for
when the
physical
digestive
activity,
system
heat,
stops
or
moving
high
waste
altitude.
efficiently.
Dietary
The
protein
human
intake
colon,
should be
that final
moderate,
segment of
not
the digestive
excessive.
tract
While
measuring
protein is
approximately 5
essential,
feet in length,
excess
has
protein,
one primary
particularly
job:
from animal
extract
sources,
water and minerals
increases the
from food
kidney's
waste,
filtration burden
compact what
and
remains,
generates more
and
uric
move it
acid
toward
and other
elimination.
nitrogenous waste
When this
products.
process
A
works
target of
correctly,
0.8
it
to
happens
1
so
gram of
automatically
protein per
that most
kilogram of
people
body
never
weight
consider
is
the
appropriate for
elegant
most people,
coordination
with
of
emphasis
muscular
on plant
contractions,
proteins like
neural
beans,
signals,
lentils,
bacterial
tofu, and
colonies,
tempeh,
and
which
chemical
come packaged
messengers
with fiber and
required
protective
to make it function.
phytochemicals. Sodium
But when this
intake
system
should be
breaks down,
monitored and
when stool
minimized.
begins to harden and
Processed foods
slow,
are the
when the
primary
rectum
source of
becomes a
excess
storage
sodium in
facility
modern
rather
diets,
than a
so
transit
emphasizing
point,
whole,
the consequences
unprocessed
ripple
foods
outward
naturally
in ways
reduces
that most
sodium
people
while
never
increasing
connect to
potassium,
their original
creating
source.
the ideal ratio
Dr.
for
Liana
kidney
has
and
reviewed
cardiovascular
hundreds of
health.
cases where
Reading
patients
labels and
presented
choosing
to
products with
emergency
less than
departments
140
with
milligrams of
symptoms
sodium
that
per
seemed
serving
completely
makes a
unrelated to
significant difference.
digestion,
Adding
chest
other
pain that mimicked heart
anthocyane-rich
attacks,
foods throughout the day
confusion that
compounds the
suggested
benefits.
stroke,
Blueberries,
abdominal pain so
blackberries,
severe it was
raspberries,
mistaken for
strawberries,
appendicitis,
red cabbage,
urinary
purple sweet
retention
potatoes,
requiring
and black rice
catheterization,
all contain
respiratory distress
anthocyanins
that looked
and
like
support
pulmonary
kidney health
embolism,
through
and in every
mechanisms
case,
similar
the
to
root
tart
cause
cherries.
was fecal
Dr.
impaction.
Liana
Stool packed so
recommends
tightly
aiming
in
for
the
at
rectum
least 1
that
to
it
2
triggered a domino
servings of
effect of
deeply
medical
pigmented
crises.
fruits or
The
vegetables
first
at
danger
each meal.
comes from direct
Limiting foods
mechanical
that stress
pressure.
the kidneys
When
is
hardened stool
equally
accumulates
important.
in the rectum,
These include
it does not
processed
simply sit
meats,
there
which are high
passively.
in sodium
It presses
and
against
contain
the walls of the
preservatives that
intestine
burden
with
kidney
increasing
filtration.
force.
Excessive
The rectum,
amounts of red
unlike
meat,
other parts
which
of the
generate
digestive
uric
tract,
acid and
has
advanced
limited
glycation
capacity
end
to
products,
expand.
refined
It was
sugars and
designed to hold
grains,
stool
which spike
temporarily,
blood sugar
not
and
permanently.
insulin, and excessive
temporary
alcohol,
holding
which is
becomes
directly
permanent
toxic to
blockage,
kidney cells
the pressure
and
begins
causes
to compromise
dehydration.
blood flow
For
to the intestinal
individuals with
wall.
existing
Tissue
kidney
that does
disease,
not receive
especially
adequate
stage
blood
3 or
supply
higher,
begins to
dietary
die. This
modifications
process,
become more
called
complex
ischemia,
and should
can
be
happen
undertaken
gradually
with medical
over days or
supervision.
suddenly over hours.
Advanced kidney
Either
disease
way, the
often
result is
requires
the same.
restriction of
The intestinal
potassium,
wall weakens,
phosphorus, and
thins,
protein.
and eventually
while tart
perforates.
cherries are
A
beneficial for
perforated
prevention
bowel
and
is one of the
early
most
stage
dangerous
disease, their
surgical
potassium
emergencies in
content
medicine.
could be problematic
When the
in
intestinal
severe
wall
disease.
ruptures,
Always consult with a
bacteria-laden stool
nephrologist or
spills
renal
directly
dietitian
into the
before
abdominal
making
cavity.
significant
The
dietary
human colon
changes
contains
when diagnosed
approximately
kidney disease
100
is
trillion
present.
bacteria,
For individuals
many
taking
of them
medications
harmless
that
when
affect
contained
kidney
within the
function,
digestive tract,
particularly
but
diuretics,
catastrophically
ACE
dangerous
inhibitors,
when released
ARBs,
into the
or
sterile environment of
NSAIDs,
the abdomen.
adding tart
Within
cherries
hours,
is generally safe,
sometimes
but
minutes,
should be mentioned
the
to the
spillage
prescribing
triggers
physician.
peritonitis,
The blood
a whole
pressure
body
lowering effects of
inflammatory
tart cherries
response.
could
Blood
theoretically
pressure
interact
drops,
with blood pressure
organs begin
medications,
to
though
fail,
this is rarely
and mortality
problematic
rates,
and
even with
usually
aggressive
beneficial.
surgical
Physical
intervention
activity
and
supports kidney
antibiotics,
health
hover
independently
around
and
30%.
synergistically with dietary
Dr.
interventions.
Liana remembers a
Exercise
52-year-old
improves blood
accountant
sugar
who arrived at
regulation,
the emergency
reduces
department
blood pressure,
complaining of abdominal
decreases
pain
chronic
that had
inflammation,
started 3
and
days
supports
earlier.
healthy body
He
weight,
described it as
all of which
pressure,
protect kidney function.
discomfort,
Aim for
nothing
at least
terrible.
150
He had
minutes of
taken
moderate
over-the-counter
intensity
pain
activity
medication.
weekly,
He
such as
assumed
brisk
it was
walking,
something he
swimming,
ate.
or cycling.
But by the time
Stress
he walked through
management
the emergency
matters for kidney
department
health
doors,
through
his
multiple
abdomen
pathways.
was rigid.
Chronic
His
stress
skin was
elevates
gray,
cortisol,
and his
which
blood
increases
pressure
blood
was
pressure
barely
and blood
maintaining
sugar,
consciousness.
both damaging to
Emergency
kidneys.
surgery
Stress
revealed a
also increases
perforation in his
inflammatory
rectum
signaling
the
and
size of a
oxidative
dime.
stress.
Fecal
Practices
matter
like
throughout
meditation,
his
deep
abdominal
breathing,
cavity,
yoga,
and
adequate
sepsis
sleep,
that
and time in
required
nature
3
all
weeks
reduce
in
stress
intensive
burden
care
and support
and
kidney
4
health.
additional
Speaking
surgeries
of sleep,
to control.
optimizing
The cause?
sleep quality
7 days
amplifies the
without a
benefits
bowel
of
movement
nighttime
and a
tart
diet
cherry consumption.
dominated by
The
3 of the
goal
foods
is
Dr.
7 to
Liana
9
will
hours of
identify
sleep
shortly.
nightly in a
But
dark,
perforation
cool,
is
quiet
not the
environment
only
with
lethal
consistent
complication.
sleep and wake
The
times.
second
The
major danger
melatonin in
comes
tart
from
cherries
what
can help
medical
improve sleep
professionals
quality,
call
creating a
overflow
positive
diarrhea,
feedback
a
loop
term
where
that
better sleep
confuses
enhances kidney
patients
repair,
because it
which
sounds
improves
like the
overall
opposite
health,
of
which supports
constipation,
better sleep.
but is
For
actually one
monitoring kidney health, Dr. Liana recommends that adults over age 30 have annual kidney function testing through routine blood work. The key markers are serum creatinine, from which estimated glomerular filtration rate is calculated, and blood urea nitrogen. Additionally, urinalysis checking for protein in the urine provides early warning of kidney damage. These are inexpensive, routine tests that should be part of standard preventive care for individuals implementing the TART-Cherry protocol. Reassessment of kidney function markers after 3 to 6 months can provide objective evidence of benefit. Many people see improvements in EGFR, reductions in urinary protein if it was present, and improvements in markers like uric acid and inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein. The expected timeline for subjective improvements varies. Some people notice better sleep quality within the first few nights of consuming tart cherries before bed due to the melatonin content. Improvements in energy
diet,
and mental
exercise,
clarity
and
often
other
emerge within
cardiovascular
2 to 3
risk
weeks
factors.
as sleep
The mechanism
quality
behind
improves
this
and
correlation
inflammatory
reveals
burden
how
decreases.
intimately connected gut
Objective
function
improvements
is
in kidney
to
function
whole body
markers
health.
typically require 2
When
to 3
stool
months of
remains in the
consistent
colon too long,
implementation to become
bacteria have
measurable
extended
as
time
kidney
to
repair
ferment
is a gradual
undigested
process.
material.
Dr.
This
Liana
fermentation
emphasizes
produces
that this
gases
is
and
not a
metabolic
quick fix
byproducts,
or a
some
short-term
of which enter
intervention.
the bloodstream
This
through the
is a
intestinal
lifelong
wall.
dietary
Among these
pattern,
byproducts
a
are
commitment to
compounds that
providing
trigger
the
systemic
kidneys with the
inflammation,
nutritional
the
support
same
they
low-grade
need every
inflammatory
single
state
night to
associated with
perform their repair and maintenance
atherosclerosis, the
functions
hardening of
optimally.
arteries
The
that leads
beauty
to
of
heart
the
attack
protocol
and stroke.
is that it is simple,
Additionally,
inexpensive,
straining
and
during bowel
enjoyable.
movements,
Tart
which
cherries
becomes
are
inevitable
delicious,
with chronic
especially when
constipation,
people adjust to their natural
dramatically
tartness.
increases blood
The bedtime
pressure
routine
in the moment
becomes
of
something to
straining.
look forward to
For someone with
rather than a chore.
underlying
For
cardiovascular
variety
disease,
and
this
enhanced
sudden
benefits,
spike can rupture
some people
vulnerable
alternate
plaques in
between
coronary
tart cherry
arteries
juice
or
and
trigger
other
arrhythmias
kidney-supportive
that cascade
beverages.
into cardiac
Unsweetened
arrest.
cranberry juice,
Dr.
as
Liana has
mentioned
witnessed
earlier,
this exact
provides
scenario
complementary
more
protection
times than she
against
wishes
urinary
to
tract
count.
infections
A
and
patient
kidney
in their
stones.
60s or 70s,
Hibiscus tea,
struggling in the
consumed cold
bathroom,
or warm
bearing
before
down
bed,
with maximum
contains
effort against
anthocyanins
stool that
and
will not
has
move.
documented blood
Blood
pressure lowering
spiking
effects.
from normal to
Pomegranate
dangerously
juice,
high
while
in
higher in
seconds.
sugar,
And then the
contains unique
chest pain
polyphenols
starts.
that protect kidney
Sometimes
cells
it is
from
angina,
oxidative damage.
a warning.
The key is
Sometimes it is a
consistency
full
and purity.
myocardial
Whatever form is
infarction,
chosen,
heart muscle
it should be
dying as
consumed
blocked arteries
nightly
fail to
without
supply
added
the
sugars
oxygen
at the
needed for the
appropriate time,
intense
as part of
cardiovascular
an
demand
overall
of straining.
dietary pattern
The death
that
certificate will
emphasizes
list heart
whole
attack
plant
as the
foods,
cause.
adequate
The underlying
hydration,
trigger was
moderate
fecal
protein,
impaction.
minimal
The
sodium,
third lethal
and
pathway
elimination
involves
of processed
urinary
foods.
retention and kidney
Empowerment
damage. The
close with
rectum
call
sits
to action,
directly behind the bladder in the
-8%.
pelvic
The
cavity.
kidneys
When the
are
rectum
remarkable
becomes distended
organs,
with impacted
resilient
stool,
and
it
adaptive,
presses against the
capable of
bladder and
maintaining
urethra,
health under
physically
enormous
blocking
stress,
the flow
but
of urine.
they are not indestructible.
Patients
The
suddenly
modern
cannot empty
epidemic
their
of
bladders
kidney disease
completely.
reflects the
Urine
fundamental
backs up
mismatch
into the
between the
kidneys.
environment human kidneys
Hydronephrosis
evolved in
develops,
and the
the kidney
dietary
swelling
and
with trapped
lifestyle
urine,
patterns of
pressure
contemporary
damaging the
life. But
delicate
unlike
filtration
genetic
structures.
diseases or
If the
unavoidable
blockage
environmental
persists,
exposures,
acute
the
kidney
kidney
injury
damage
follows,
caused by diet
waste
and
products
lifestyle is
accumulating in the
entirely
bloodstream.
preventable and, in many
Electrolytes becoming
cases,
dangerously
reversible.
imbalanced,
Dr.
and
Liana
the
wants
cascade
every
toward
person watching
multi-organ
this
failure
to understand that
Then there
kidney
is the
health is not a
psychological
matter
and
of luck
neurological
or
dimension
genetics.
that most
For the
people
vast
never
majority
consider.
of people,
The gut
it is a
contains
matter
more
of
than
daily
500
choices,
million neurons,
choices about
so
what to
many
eat,
that
when to eat it,
neuroscientists refer
how much
to
to
it
drink,
as the second
how to
brain.
manage stress,
This
and
enteric
whether
nervous
to
system
prioritize
communicates
sleep.
constantly
And among
with the
all
brain through
choices
the
that
vagus
support
nerve,
kidney health,
a
consuming
major
tart
neural
cherries
highway
before bed
carrying signals
stands out
in
for its
both
unique
directions.
combination of
When the
multiple
gut is
protective
chronically
mechanisms,
distressed, when
optimal
stool
timing
sits
aligned with
fermenting and
circadian
pressure
repair
builds in the
processes,
rectum,
and
these signals flood the
exceptional
brain with
accessibility.
information that
This
manifests
is not
as anxiety,
experimental
depression,
medicine.
brain
This
fog,
is
and
not
cognitive
fringe
dysfunction.
nutrition.
Research
This
teams at
is
Johns Hopkins
evidence-based
University
intervention
examined
supported by mechanistic
2,800
understanding
participants
and
across
clinical
a
research.
4-year period
The
using
anthocyanins
standardized
in
depression
tart cherries
inventories and
reduce
colonoscopy
inflammation and
confirmed
oxidative
constipation
stress,
diagnosis.
the two
And
primary
their findings
drivers of
demonstrated
kidney
that
damage
individuals
in
with
modern
chronic
populations.
constipation were
The
3.2
melatonin
times more
enhances
likely to
sleep
develop
quality
clinical
and cellular
depression
repair.
compared to
The uric
controls,
acid lowering
suggesting a
prevents crystal
bidirectional
formation
relationship
and
where
reduces
gut
blood
dysfunction
pressure. The
impacts
fluid
mental
provides
health, and
beneficial
mental health
dilution of
impacts
overnight
gut
urine,
function.
and the
But
timing
perhaps
delivers
the most
all these
insidious
benefits
danger
precisely when
is that
kidneys are
fecal
shifting into
impaction
repair mode.
rarely
For someone
announces
with
itself
normal
with
kidney
obvious
function,
symptoms
this protocol
until it
is
has
preventive,
progressed to
an
dangerous
insurance
levels.
policy against the
Early
gradual decline
constipation
that
feels
affects
like
millions
minor
as they age.
inconvenience.
For
A
someone
day
with
without a
early
bowel
stage kidney
movement becomes
disease,
2,
stages
then
1 or
3.
2, this is
Discomfort
potentially
mild.
restorative,
Life
capable
continues.
of halting
By day
progression
5 or 6,
and
there
supporting
is
recovery
bloating,
of function.
decreased appetite,
For someone
a
with
sense of
advanced kidney
fullness.
disease,
Still,
this is
many people
supportive,
normalize
helping
these
maintain
feelings,
remaining function
assuming
and
they will
reduce
pass.
symptoms,
By
though
the time
always under
pain
medical
becomes
supervision.
severe,
The
by the
action
time
steps
overflow
are
diarrhea
simple
starts,
and immediate.
by the time
Starting
urinary
tonight,
retention or
30 to 60
confusion or
minutes
chest
before
pain
bed,
develops,
consume
the
1 cup
impaction
of
has
tart
often
cherries
become so
or 8
severe
ounces of
that
pure
manual
tart cherry
disimpaction
juice.
or even
Make this
surgery
a
is required.
non-negotiable part
Dr.
of the
Liana
nighttime
emphasizes
routine,
that the
as
medical
consistent
community
as
bears
brushing
some
teeth.
responsibility
Source
for this
frozen
lack of
tart
awareness.
cherries or
Bowel
pure tart
function
cherry juice
remains
this
one
week,
of the last
so the
taboo
protocol can
topics in
begin
healthcare.
immediately.
Patients
Combine this
feel
with
embarrassed
increased
to mention
daytime water intake, reduced sodium and processed food consumption, moderate protein from primarily plant sources,
and the result is
and
that
other
millions of people
anthocyanin-rich
suffer
fruits and
silently with a
vegetables throughout the
progressive
day.
condition that
For
has
anyone
clear
who
warning
has not
signs
had kidney
and
function
highly
tested
effective
recently,
interventions if
schedule an
caught early.
appointment for basic
The
blood
tragedy
work,
is that
including
most
serum
fecal
creatinine,
impactions are
estimated
entirely
GFR,
preventable.
and
They do not
urinalysis.
result from
Establish
mysterious
a
genetic
baseline.
disorders
Then,
or
after 3
unavoidable
to 6
aging
months of
processes.
consistent
They result
implementation
from
of the TART
specific,
Cherry protocol
identifiable
and supporting
dietary
dietary
choices combined
strategies,
with lifestyle
retest and
factors.
compare. The objective data will likely confirm what is felt subjectively: more energy, better sleep, clearer thinking, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing the body is being supported rather than undermined. Dr. Liana emphasizes that this information is empowering precisely because it places control in individual hands. It does not require expensive supplements, prescription medications, or medical procedures. It requires a decision to prioritize health, a commitment to consistency, and a willingness to make a simple daily choice that compounds over weeks, months, and years into profound protection. The kidneys filter the blood 35 to 40 times every single night. They deserve support for that extraordinary work. They deserve the anti-inflammatory protection of anthocyanins. They deserve the antioxidant defense of melatonin. They deserve the uric acid lowering that prevents crystal damage. They deserve the hydration that dilutes toxins. And they deserve the respect of someone who understands their value and commits to protecting them.
This is not a list of foods to reduce or moderate. This is not about portion control or occasional indulgence. The 7 foods that will be identified in the mechanistic deep dive are foods that must be completely eliminated from regular consumption for anyone who values long-term digestive health and wants to avoid the very real risk of
where the
fecal
body
impaction
remains strong and functional rather than progressively dependent on medical intervention.
The mechanism is not theoretical.
The mechanisms have been explained. The protocol has been delivered.
What these foods
now
are,
comes
it is
the
essential
only part
to understand
that
why they are so
implementation.
damaging.
1 cup
The human
of tart
digestive
cherries,
system
30
evolved
to 60
over
minutes
millions
before
of
bed,
years in an
every
environment
night.
completely
That
different
is
from
where
the modern food
transformation
landscape.
begins. The
Ancestral
kidneys are
diets
waiting.
consisted
The tart
primarily
cherries are
of
available,
fibrous plants,
and the decision to
occasional
protect
lean
2 of the most
proteins,
essential
seasonal
organs in the
fruits,
human
and
body,
very
with
limited
one of
quantities
nature's
of
most powerful
concentrated
protective
starches or
foods,
sugars.
is available
The
to make
digestive
right now,
tract adapted to
tonight,
process
starting
high
with the
volumes
next
of
trip to the
fiber,
grocery store,
materials that
and
resist
continuing
complete
every single
breakdown
night
and
thereafter.
provide the bulk
This is
necessary
not
to
a small
stimulate
intervention.
peristalsis.
This is a
Those
foundational
wave-like
health
muscular
practice
contractions
that
that
supports
move
not
waste
just
through the
kidney function,
intestines.
but sleep
Modern
quality,
processed
inflammation
foods
levels,
represent a
blood
radical
pressure,
departure from
uric
this
acid
evolutionary
balance,
template.
and overall
They
cellular
are designed
repair.
for
This
maximum
is one of those
palatability,
rare
shelf
interventions where
stability,
the
and
science is
profit
clear,
margin,
the mechanism
not
is
for
understood,
digestive health.
the implementation
They concentrate
is simple,
calories while
and the
removing
benefits
fiber.
are profound.
They add binding
Dr.
agents and
Liana
preservatives that
has seen
change how
countless
food moves
patients
through the gut.
who wish they had
create
known this
textures and
information
flavors
sooner,
that override
who wish they
natural
had
satiety
prioritized kidney
signals,
health before
encouraging
symptoms appeared,
overconsumption.
who
And
wish
they
they
do
had
all of
understood that
this while
something
being
as simple as
marketed
tart
as
cherries
convenient,
before bed
normal,
could have
even
prevented
healthy
years of
components of
decline.
everyday eating.
Those patients cannot go
The
back.
7 foods
But
Dr. Liana
anyone
will
watching
identify
this can
shortly
move forward with
all
knowledge,
share common
with a protocol,
characteristics.
and
They
with the
are
power
low in
to make a
fiber
different
or
choice.
completely
The best
fiber-free.
time to start
They
protecting
contain
kidney
binding
health was
compounds
20
that
years
absorb
ago.
water in
The
the
second best
digestive
time
tract.
is tonight.